Welcome back. You're still watching DayBreak on this 19th day of January 2026, and in studio I have the members of parliament that I just referenced, and it's also the very first time that Liwa Muthende is on DayBreak. How are you, Mheshimiwa Muthende?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, viewers.
Should I say congratulations because I never got a chance to do so on air?
Thank you, thank you.
How has it been? More than a month.
It's actually
now.
a month plus now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm happy I was sworn in, then we went for recess, so I had time to connect with my people.
Sure.
Thank them for the good work they did in electing me and listening to the two-term call. So I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year to you.
Also joining us is Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Mheshimiwa Gladys Boss. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
See you.
How is Uasin Gishu?
Uasin Gishu is great.
All right.
I spent most of my December there.
All right. And Mheshimiwa Robert Mbui, Member of Parliament for Kathiani Constituency and also Deputy Minority Leader at the National Assembly. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Sam. Thank you for having us back.
What's the latest in Kathiani? Happy New Year to you.
Yes.
In Kathiani, what's the latest? What are people saying?
Well, our children are struggling. This grade 10, mess is really affecting my children.
Yeah.
I have a lot of, most of my schools actually have not even reached 50% capacity in terms of admission to grade 10.
Yeah.
It's a real disaster. I was to start giving bursary actually today, but we've had to postpone until children can be able to be placed.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'll be talking about that in as far as the challenges that students are experiencing and also parents at the time that the government says they will be doing door-to-door mop-up exercise to ensure that learners are able to join their schools. Because it's spread across the country. The government says that about 61% have reported to schools. If you go to individual schools, you'll find that the rates are even high in lower. That is, the transition is actually lower. But also this morning, waking up to the paper's Daily Nation, it's Odinga versus Oginga. Speakers at Kibra rally turned the heat on ODM officials, crushing dissent contrary to Raila's ideals. And it's also the main story that is on the Standard. ODM rift explodes with Winnie Odinga said to have stormed back into ODM politics with a show of force that has rattled the party's new power center, commanding a mammoth Kamukunji crowd reminiscent of her late father's rallies. The LMP warned party bosses against unilateral decisions and demanded an NDC before any 2027 realignments can take effect. I want us to begin with a conversation about the transition in schools. Like I said, the government saying that they have extended the joining dates to Wednesday this week. That is for learners to get to their institutions. Many parents that have spoken to us are talking about the challenges of finding the resources. First, the school fees. Secondly, the school requirements from uniforms to stationery that is required, and also some fees that schools levy on the day of admission. I'll begin with you, Mheshimiwa Deputy Speaker, on what you've seen in Uasin Gishu, but also this is a very crucial stage we are at in the competency-based education. We've not seen this when it comes to matters transition, because even if Form 1s that were joining in previous years had challenges, it has not been to this magnitude that at least 40%, according to the figures from the government, are yet to join grade 10.
Yes. Yes, I think there are several reasons why that has happened. If you remember in the past, what used to happen is that when people are joining school, they got a letter that was given to them for admission. Right now, they have to apply online. There's a cutoff points for various schools. It's an online system. Sometimes a child is placed in a school that they don't want to go to, or is too far, or they have certain personal challenges and cannot go to school. Then they have to apply for review. And when they apply for review, there were some days that took before the review was done, and they're allowed, I think, 3 reviews to change their schools. So that has also delayed children getting into school. And so I think people must understand that with an online system, there's bound to be challenges, and there's bound to be some delays, but it's a much more efficient system. It's actually better than when people would go to a school, collect a letter. Sometimes somebody bribed and was able to collect an admission letter. So this one, at least, it has cut off that issue of parents spending a lot of money to buy a placement in a certain school. There is also the challenge that children, because why have children not been entered school? For example, we know that there's many, I asked and I spoke to the Ngao officers in Uasin Gishu County, and they said that they've gone sometimes sent door to door to go home, to homesteads, and they found that maybe the girl is pregnant and therefore cannot go to school. In other cases, the child, they have a crisis at home. There is a sick parent who's very unwell, a person in the family who has passed on, so they're not able to report to school on time, and so the family is going through those motions. There's other cases where they just don't have the money. So they don't have the school fees, even the money to do the shopping and the buying the uniforms and etc. Because it's not just the school fees that is the crisis. It's actually, in fact, my biggest problem that I was dealing with was children needing they need the uniforms and all the things that the school wants. You need to buy, you know, you have to buy shoes, you have to have a mattress, you have to go with a blanket, you've got to go with this and that. So even those, in some cases, I was telling the school, this child is getting a bursary at the end of the month. So allow me to just give a small deposit. I'll give them a bursary at the end of the month. But there's the challenge of the uniforms and so on. So those are some of the things that have delayed. So I believe that in the next few weeks, there's going to be a much higher percentage of enrollment. Right now, they say enrollment into senior secondary is 61%. Enrollment to junior secondary is much better. It's 97%. So there are those challenges to see. And even if you look at the enrollment rate, the lowest in the country is Kilifi County. And it's quite easy to tell, because Kilifi County has the highest prevalence of teenage pregnancies in Kenya. Kenya has one of the highest teenage pregnancies rate in the world. So it just goes to tell you that it is related. And I've gone to feeding centers and children's homes in Kilifi area, and you actually see children who are almost 14 years old having children. And they're the majority of the people who come to the feeding centers. So we must also look at what is the social situation in an area, because it's correlated to the school. If you look at places that have, informal settlements, slum areas, you'll actually realize that's where there is a socio-economic status that has actually made that the children haven't reported. And therefore, it's a good thing, but what I've seen is a lot of members of parliament are actively, trying, like Honorable Mbuya said, he has delayed issuing of his bursaries. I've done the same thing. I was supposed to do it in December, in the beginning of January, and I've also delayed it because we want to make sure that the children already have placement, because they need the invoice from the school for us to be able to issue the bursary, because normally the money goes directly to the school. So you'll find a parent said, "Mtoto ameitwa Samburu," so I'm trying to get them transferred before I can come and apply for the So that it makes sense.
But the money is already there. The city of money, you've already received it. It's the accounts. Okay, Mheshimiwa Muthende, what's the situation like in Mbeere North?
Well, more or less the same. I must say that we have challenges, just like my colleague, Deputy Speaker said. However, we face the challenges as they come, because as leaders, our role is not just to, spell doom to people, but to influence and guide them. And I must say that the parents who have come to me because of challenges, various challenges that she has mentioned, you try and mitigate, because this is a new system. And as we know, when you're implementing something new, not just as government, even in the corporate world, you're bound to face challenges. Sometimes the real situation is not what you anticipated in the boardroom. And as much as people would argue maybe you need to have prepared for that, I must say that government has done so well. In fact, I commend them for involving GAO, so that now it's not just us as leaders who are being faced with calls, but we have people, we have chiefs, sub-chiefs, village leaders who are going out to look for these students to find out, why are you not in school, why have you not reported? Like The major issue in Mbeere North is about school fees, uniform, and most people are not able to report because of that. Again, there is the issue of placement, which is again being handled at the school level, student level. So I must say government has done the best that they can, and we expect that by Wednesday we'll push this percentage to maybe 90%. I believe in Mbeere North we may need time. It may not take these 3 days, but we are on the right track. So,
but Mheshimiwa Mudende, you say, even as the Deputy Speaker says, that there's a challenge of school fees, but also the school uniform and other requirements that the school will give.
Yeah.
So you can intervene on school fees because you can give bursary. But what do you do to the school uniform, the school requirement, whether it's the stationery or bedding for those that are boarders? What do you do?
Yeah, so it's quite a challenge, I must say.
I
a lot
just
of
end up
time
buying them myself.
you have to go to your pocket. You have to, in fact, like in the cases of my day schools in my constituency,
yeah.
I've told the principals, let these children come, get me the data, take them to a uniform shop, because these are coming from, home. For boarding students, you get a call, you handle it on the go, because again we must realize that some of these challenges are real. You have a parent who is not able to even buy school fees. During the last week, actually, I had a lot of cases where I had to intervene, and not even for boarding secondary school, even tertiary schools. There are some people who had exams. They had to register for exams by a certain time. You have to do it. So these are, as leaders, these are things we face, but these are things that we step in and help the situation as the need arises.
Okay. Allow me just to say something on the school uniforms. Apologies, Honorable Mbui. The thing about the uniforms, it's a menace, and we have to start to rethink it as a country. The school uniform sometimes is more expensive than the school fees. It doesn't make sense. The uniform shops have the lowest quality of uniforms, and yet they're the most expensive. Those sweaters are damaged within no short time. Last year, I undertook a program where I was buying uniform for children who are wearing tatters to school, and gave out uniforms across Uasin Gishu County in various schools. It was the junior secondary. What I didn't know is that they can't wear the same uniform that they were wearing in junior secondary at senior secondary. So I was telling the principal, why did you make me buy school uniform for this kid when he only had, he had 2 terms left at the school?
Yeah.
So we also have we cannot be unreasonable about it. And sometimes the child is in the same school, the same compound.
Same environment.
Yes. Same, and then you see, when you get to a school, you say, why are the children wearing 2 different uniforms? Oh, how one is junior secondary, these ones are primary. That must stop. Even this thing of telling parents you must bring a certain type of shoe from a specific shop, or a specific brand. Yeah. Then a parent is spending 2,000 shillings on a shoe, spending 2,000 shillings on I don't know what, and then they tell you they want a tracksuit, they want a jersey, they want a fleece, I don't remember having that amount of uniform when I was growing up. You simply had 2 shirts. You had 1 skirt, which you wore the whole week and washed it on weekends. The only thing you changed was the shirts, because that's what would get dirty. And then you have a half sweater and a full sweater and I don't know what.
And a blazer.
Yes, and I remember that Honorable Wamushomba in Parliament had brought in that motion, and we supported it. Let's be like other countries. Let's say it's schools, it's either grey skirts, white shirts, grey sweater, or black skirt, black shoes. Allow parents that even if I go to Mitumba, I can go and buy my child a shoe from Mitumba, what I can afford. Because you cannot make it so specific and so expensive. It's too much.
Okay.
Yes.
Good point that you raised there. Mheshimiwa Mbui, perhaps you had started by talking to us about the situation in Kathiani. You have actually postponed the issuance of the bursaries. But what are these unique challenges that the class of, should I say, 2025 or 2026 presents that you haven't seen before, especially for your constituency and county?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Sam, first and foremost, I want to say that I think the problem that we are facing now as a constituency has been occasioned by these, you know, very many new ideas that this regime has been introducing in this country. I'm not saying new ideas are necessarily bad, but sometimes we are using our population as guinea pigs. Remember when Shah started, how much of an effort it was, and people really struggled.
Yep.
You know that we've had this university funding model that was even stopped by the courts, that was supposed to be identifying those that are needy so that they would get, you know, paid for hire at the university. That thing was scrapped after a while because it didn't work. We have this newly introduced idea of EGP, you know, electronic government procurement, which has caused most of our counties to be unable to develop and to do any procurement. So we really have a problem. And now they also introduced these in the placement of grade 10 learners to senior school. Now that's where the problem is, because when the parents were made to choose, I think there were 4 categories, and parents were told you have to. And you know, when it's an electronic system, you must fill all the categories. You had, I think, there were the top schools. I think the top tier schools. These are national schools. There are provincial, extra provincial schools, all the way up to our day schools.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, because parents had to fill all these, and then remember that the new system of CBC also expects that learners being placed would have certain qualifications in certain subjects to be able to undertake the different, I think they're calling them pathways.
Pathways, yes.
So now, parents, of course, I can tell you for sure, majority parents were not very clear about it. And so in the process of choosing schools, when the computer system was now placing the learners, I think that's where now things fell apart, because you find a child from Kathiani constituency has been admitted to a school like 3-4 counties away, but that school is a day school. How is that child going to go to that school? You know, and this is what the problem has been. Now, in my own constituency, I'm shocked when the government says that the statistics are over 60%. I have a school called Kauti. Kauti is a school that had over 100, intake every year.
Yeah. But
they had about 5 children admitted as of last week. There's a school I delivered, I went to
5 out of what capacity?
Over 100, capacity of over 100 per year. There are only 5 as of last week. There's a school I went to deliver, it's called St. Vincent Milini. I went to deliver to, in support of CDF, a bus.
Yep.
Last week also. This is a school with a admission capacity of over 200. The principal told us they had only admitted 70. That's way below half. So in fact, that was the reason why we had no option. And I talked to the chair of the principals of the constituency, who said if you give bursary now, you will actually be giving bursary for Form 3s and Form 4s, right, but your grade 10, you will not even give 10% of them. So we have to wait until they are admitted. So that's where the problem is. I think this idea of using Kenyans as guinea pigs all the time so that we try new things on them without going through the due processes, I think that's a mess. And I can tell you why I'm saying this has failed. They extended the placement. They say now reapply again, now you can make changes because you've been put in a day school far from home. So reapply again. After a while, quietly, Sam, I can tell you, the ministry has allowed principals now to do the intake they were doing before.
Right.
So when I hear someone saying that the old system was bad, then why are we falling back to that system if it was bad? The system where principals would go and be involved in the placement of children to their schools was okay. And I think that's what we needed to go back to. But this is there are more problems, Sam, in this thing. There's also the issue of infrastructure. And I think it's important to mention this, that the new system requires a lot more infrastructure than we have in our senior schools. So as it is right now, we are taking children and admitting them, and our schools are not even ready for this kind of pathways. There is this new system about sports. That is actually part of the education system now. You go to my constituency and look for other schools that are up there in the hills of Kathiani. None of them can have a field, but they have been allowed to actually be able to offer that course. So there's a big problem. There is, of course, the requirement of labs.
Has there been any investment the past 1 or 2 years?
They invest
arts and sports sector.
Yes, but
those institutions.
No, there is almost zero investment. There is very little investment in some of those institutions. I can tell you, it's probably only like I watched someone here say it's actually the national schools and maybe the private school sector that can actually afford this system. It's a system I believe that the ministry is going to start clawing back on what they intended to do, because they are not ready. The infrastructure is not ready. But some allow me to also say what my colleagues have said. The issue of school uniform and school fees is also a challenge, a very big challenge.
Yep.
And I think it's important for people to know that Kenyans can no longer even afford the basic fees because this government raided our pockets. I mean, and I must say this because it is true that Kenyans are poorer in 2026 than they were in 2022. Because our disposable income from our salaries has gone down and continues going down. And yet the cost of basic goods and services is going up. So we are worse off. And so therefore, that's why parents right now, even the few that have got admission letters cannot also afford to take their children to school. I'll agree with the Deputy Speaker on the matter of the uniforms. And I'll tell you this, maybe many people don't know. A lot of our top schools, Ministry of Education did say that from now going forward, if you want to buy uniform, schools should keep off. Schools should not be involved. But I'll tell you, check most of the national schools. They are actually still receiving money for purposes of delivering uniform to the students. In fact, it is only the basic day schools where we have a little bit more influence that we can tell them you cannot do that. Yeah. But our top schools, if a child is admitted to a top school like Moi Forces Academy, they must go to the school. They will pay for the mattress. They will pay for the bed sheet. They will pay for the pillow to the school. They will not go to
Is it cheaper than the market rate, or it's more expensive?
It's not cheaper. It's obviously always more expensive because the idea behind the schools getting involved is so that they can be able to make some little money out of it. So I think
the benefit
we need to address that. The benefit, of course, of the management of institutions, not of the learner.
The uniform companies collude with the head teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good point. Now, at the same time, we're having this conversation of joining grade 10, but also KCSE 2025 was released, and it showed some serious patterns that the country needs to pay attention to. Just look at one of them. I'll get to you, Mheshimiwa Leo. So this is the candidates that qualify to join universities. And I want us to just take a look and see that 85% of those that went to national schools actually qualified to join university, meaning they scored at least a C+. In extra counties, 51% of the class qualified to go to the universities. The actual number is 101,000. In county schools, only 24% of the entire class will go to the university directly. In the sub-counties, which is majorly the day schools, it is only 14% of the class that will make it to the universities. And it's a huge number. I'll be telling you how many they are. And at the same time, in private schools, 36% are making it. Now, that number, 14%, it tells you an important message that if you take your child to a day school, the chances of them getting to the university is only 14%, based on the numbers of 2025. Yeah. And these are the schools that are majority. I think close to 48 or 51% of learners go to these sub-county schools, the day schools. This is CBC, or CBE. We are transitioning. How do you see the quality of facilities in your constituency, Mheshimiwa Omuthende? And do you think they are primed for national competition?
Yeah, I'll answer your question, Sam, but allow me to respond to something my colleague said, that Kenyans are being used as guinea pigs. I must say we are not wired to really accept change, and actually that's real, even in our homes, even in our institutions. And remember, all these systems that he has mentioned, SHA, even the CBC, there was an ecosystem that was benefiting from the previous system. So anytime you have something new, there are bound to be the real complaints, that is from implementation and all, but there are also people who are actually losing business, who have been maybe like SHA. There are people who are stealing from NHIF, so you have billions actually going out to make sure SHA is not implemented. So, and I must say, we must give credit where it's due. Government is responding to the situation on the ground. Whether we go back to principals issuing letters, whether we try to mitigate using other means, that is a positive move. So we cannot say that because we introduced it and it has failed, we have gone back to something that we were doing. We must just say that this is the first year. We take lessons from the challenges we face, and then we move forward. Now, looking at that number, again, I respond as a leader. So 14% is bad. What am I doing? For example, in my constituency,
Right.
one thing is that some day schools have very low enrollment rates. So you find that even when you are funding that school, because it's done per student, they are not able to get the proper infrastructure. They are not able to have the requisite, infrastructure per student.
Yeah.
Unlike these schools in my constituency, which have a larger population of students. So we had a meeting with principals, and we decided to try and increase the enrollment rate. So I actually pioneered a free-day secondary school in Bere North to try and boost enrollment. At the same time, I'm working on a motivation program for day schools in my constituency, where teachers, parents, students, and principals will get motivation. So I look at 14% as a beginning point. I will not blame anyone for 14%. I'll just say, as a leader, I'm prepared to move that number to 50%, to 60%, and I have a formula towards that. So I will commend...
I want to hear about that formula, because in most of the schools you find that, like you're saying, that the facilities are not conducive. You don't have sufficient, if it's science-based courses, you don't have the sufficient facilities like laboratories.
Yes.
If it's the sports science, there's no investment going into that. So even if we are saying that you're moving away from exams to skill-based, there has to be an investment. How do you do that?
Yes, and through CDF, we have labs being done even at the moment. We are trying to mitigate. Like I say, Sam, it is correct. You know, we have poor funding, we have poor infrastructure, but what are we doing about it? Government is trying to intervene. As members of parliament through CDF, we also try to intervene. And remember, this has to be gradual. You cannot come from a situation where you have 100 schools and only maybe 30 have proper facilities, and you go to fund 70 at a go. So I know this may disadvantage some pupils and students, but are we doing something about it? And the answer is yes. So based on the need per school, we intervene. Like some schools actually will tell you, okay, we do not have 1, 2, 3, 4, but can we intervene on this? On matters lab, we try and source for reagents, a few equipment. We can even work from a classroom. And people sometimes say it's not the right environment, but you have to work with what you have as you move forward to now proper infrastructure. And we'll get there. I want to encourage Kenyans. The government is committed to ensure that every student from every corner gets quality education.
All right.
It is a journey,
I hear
and
you.
we are on the right path.
Then I hear you. There are 2 points you're raising. The intervention you're making at the constituency level, but you're also saying that government is committed. We'll have to untangle that and see where we're headed. We're taking a short break here, but when we come back, we'll conclude on that matter of the quality of education in our institutions and the transition into grade 10, and thereafter we talk about the governance, the question of politics and the work in 2026. We'll be back in a moment.